Okay. So
Yeah,
team,
definitely.
thanks to Nandip and his team, I think I was able to present couple of earlier sessions. One was on the privilege identity management, and the other one was Azure VPN. And today I'm coming over here to present the third session on Azure Vision AI services. What I'll try to cover. Oh, my bad. Over here, Azure Vision AI service. So I just tried to clone the existing one. So if you look at today's session, what I would be covering is the Azure AI services, some types of Azure AI services on high level, authentication of the Azure AI services, followed with Azure Vision AI, Vision Studio, a bit visibility of what the studio is, how it can be used. We'll go through a couple of services of Azure Vision, which is image analysis and OCR. I have managed to get the demo done for image analysis that I can cover today and OCR. So these are a couple of things that we can cover, a short quiz and then any Q&A if possible. There are few more services as I mentioned earlier, facial and video analysis. If possible, not today, I will cover in another session down the line. Okay. So that's the agenda for today. Before I get started, I will quickly introduce myself. I am Shailesh Chaskar. I have an extensive experience of 18 years working in IT industry. I have been a Java developer earlier, and then I challenged myself by going into production management, DevOps, SRE role, and with SRE role, I evolved working on premises, and now I'm been working on Azure Cloud Platform. I also work on Google Cloud Platform, so that's my profile. It's really quite fun to work on the cloud platform, especially Azure. It has got a lot of different features, and that's how I have enhance my profile. And thanks to the tech community that I'm able to present some of the knowledge that I've gained. Again, this Azure AI, different services we are exploring in a POC phase, and there are a lot of other pre-sales or RFP that we are trying to support. Hence, I will just share based on the POC phase that we have managed to gather the knowledge and see wherever I can add. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me so that I can answer them to the best of my knowledge. Okay. Any questions, anyone, or good to get started? Okay, I take it as a no. Good to get started. So, team, let us first talk about a bit around the Azure AI services, right? There are multiple of them. Vision and document. This is the two extensive ones that we are really working and exploring upon so that we can satisfy a lot of use cases. There are already a lot of practical use cases on vision because when we talk about Vision AI, one of the services under Azure, we have got a lot of opportunities and use cases of analyzing the image, video, facial, and also a lot of text that can be driven out of the images and the videos also. And obviously, it helps in various different domains. Okay, so let us understand what is Azure AI services. As we all know, artificial intelligence is changing the world. There are a couple of codes that artificial intelligence in the next 5 years will really evolve a lot. When I say a lot, it is not confined to any kind of profession, any kind of industry. So obviously, it will change the world, the way we work, the way we really interact with technology. Okay, and it has hardly not affected any industry. It has affected each one of them, and especially from healthcare to online safety, AI is helping us to tackle some of the society's biggest issues. And hence, knowing these different AI services is really one of the essence, especially for any person who is working in IT industry. I would say not only IT but non-IT and non-technology also. People need to really keep up to pace how AI is evolving and changing the way you interact with technology in day-to-day life. Okay. So understanding any AI services to start with Azure or even Google or AWS is really going to add a lot to your profile and build your perspective of how AI is changing. Okay. Uh, to adapt to the change in AI and to help you give a platform where you can use those different machine learning models because everything in AI, especially in the backend, is all the models that will be consuming your data and then giving you the output, right? So Azure in AI services are nothing but a portfolio of different AI capabilities that unlock automation for workloads in language, vision, intelligent search, content generation, Gen AI, which you all know, and many more such kind of fields, right? They are straightforward to implement and don't require specialist AI knowledge. Again, to some extent, I would say specialist AI knowledge is not required, but having a fundamental knowledge of AI is very important. So, if you can spend some time understanding AI, machine learning, deep learning, it will really be helpful. And if you can top up your knowledge with some information about TensorFlow, or even about the different languages, PySpark that are being used in the background, it will really help. Uh, Even if you're not going to code, but understanding those implementations, or at least the basic libraries using Python will really help you a lot. So when we interact with Azure AI service or any AI services, there are multiple languages, Python being one of the largely used language. Then there are UI services also that you can use to explore the AI services and implement your use case in a POC level. In today's session, I can cover Studio as well, via which a UI is given so that you can explore your AI services, or there are SDKs also. So I'll try to cover the SDK part of it using Python. Okay, so that from a programmatical point of view, you can understand how the service is invoked using REST API. I'll come to that in a while. Azure AI services are AI capabilities that can be built into web or mobile application in a way that's straightforward to implement. I'll be frank to you, the way cloud is getting evolved and the way the services are at your perusal, right? You just have to deploy the models. You can train the models, deploy the models, and make this model available to you in a web application format, which is very easy for the users to work with in a UI format or also in a REST API calls. And that's how the integration of the systems is really evolving. If you look at different use cases that are happening in different industries, right now they are trying to build model, fine tune, see how the data is generated. I think it's not that far that they will be very quickly integrated with the existing system to evolve and visualize the outcome of the data, and that would be a very good information to analyze the business requirement, the analyze the client, the analyze the user base, and the requirements of the future. So forecasting also is very important, essential factor of it. Okay, so please understand when you're working with Azure under AI or any other services, the biggest advantage is how you integrate with the current system, because that's the need of the hour. Okay, these AI services include image recognition, natural language processing, speech, AI-powered search, and many more. So the capabilities are unlimited, lot of them. Okay, just give me one moment. I'll just lower down the fan speed. I think that might be a disturbance. Nandip, is the audio clear, or shall I lower down the fan speed?
Audio is clear, there is no issue.
Okay, no problem. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I think I was getting a bit disturbed. It was quite noisy. Now it's better. Again, I will continue. So anyone, any questions on Azure AI services? I think there's one more slide that I've added to give you some more information. As I mentioned, Azure AI services are all access through APIs. So that's the beauty of it. And especially if you have a microservices based architecture, it's very easy. You can integrate and you can evaluate the outcome. And the outcome also can be very easily written down or saved into any of your storage persistent system, whether it is storage account, file system, or a database. So that's the beauty of it, the way you can interact with it. Azure AI services are designed to be used in different development environments with minimal coding. To be frank, guys, the demo also that I'm going to show is a simple Python code invoking the Azure AI Vision libraries and the different features that it is. Again, it's a sample code that I have reused, but you can explore the different libraries and the functions that are provided. So understanding the Python libraries will be very essential if you really have to explore, or as I mentioned earlier, the other languages, PySpark and TensorFlow also will give you similar kind of functionalities. Developers can access AI services through REST API, as I mentioned, client libraries, the SDKs, or integrate them with tools such as Logic Apps and Power Automate. Again, when you're on cloud, you have got a lot of functions by which you can integrate and invoke and also do a lot of batch processing. Importantly, Azure AI services are all available on Azure. So if you have a production or enterprise version, I think you can really explore all these services. So again, with the constrained activation of Azure AI services from responsible AI and fairness usage, they're evaluating. They don't enable it for any non-industry, non-production kind of environment. So you have to apply for it and then get your services activated. Okay, just make a note of that. Even if your own personal Azure account, I think the more you are aligned to a domain which showcases that you are going to do a production kind of deployment or a POC which is fairly used, they might approve your request. Please make a note of it. If you need any more information on how to get your services activated in Azure AI, reach out to me. I can guide on that place. Okay. AI services, the good thing again, as I mentioned, it's all cloud based, access to Azure resources. That's the beauty. If you're working already on any kind of cloud, I would not say only Azure, but even Google, AWS, Oracle, or any other public cloud. It's very easily accessible. It's just the features and the way you integrate is something that everyone has to learn, understand, and then bring the perspective of converting into a practical use case. Okay. I'll go further. This means that they are managed in the same way as the other Azure services, such as PaaS services, IaaS service, and managed database services. It's like as a service that you can use. Azure platform and the resource manager provide a consistent framework for all your Azure services, from creating or deleting resources to availability and billing. So it's like a service. The way you create your AKS cluster, the way you create your database, the way you create an instance of Databricks or any other services, Key Vault, and you just have to invoke those services via the API and use it. That's it. Rest of the stuff when it comes to billing, authentication, identity management, everything remains the same. So that's the beauty of it. Just additional service giving you more functionality and mainly giving you a platform to explore machine learning and the AI capabilities. Okay. So I would sincerely request you to explore the AI services. There are some good challenges that had occurred in the last couple of months, which was a good curriculum. If you really have to understand the fundamentals of AI services, I can share that with you after this session also. Go through those challenges, which has got some basic fundamental covered, followed with some practical use case and different demos also. One of them I'm using in today's session. Okay. So it's a good starting point, even if you have to do a POC. So that's about Azure AI services. So the next one is Azure AI services and its different types that can be used in Azure cloud platform. Any questions before I proceed further? Anyone? Silence, I take it as a no. I'll proceed further. If any questions anywhere, feel free to raise your hand or just put something in the chat. I'll hold myself. Thanks, Vipin, for confirming. I just saw your chat. Thanks a lot. So services types, right? Again, there are different kind of services for every types for every services that we use in cloud, whether it is database service, whether it is in container service, or whether you have different kind of services that you use for integrated platforms also, right? So in AI also, AI services are cloud based as we discussed, and like all Azure services, you need to create a resource to use them. It's just an interface or pointer for you. There are two types of AI services uh, resources that can be created. One is multi-service or single service. Once you create an Azure AI service resource, you can build application using the REST API, SDK, the libraries that we mentioned, or there's a Visual Studio interface also that I can show. So two type of service, multi-service resource, single service resource. What is a multi-service resource? A resource created in the Azure portal that provides access to multiple Azure AI services with a single key and endpoint. Use the resource Azure AI services when you need several AI services or are exploring AI capabilities. When you use an Azure AI services resource, all services are built together. So in case of POCs, especially in lower environment, I would suggest always to use multi-service resources. And in today's demo also, I have done the same. I've created simple multi-service resources which I can use across different services also, whether it is Vision AI service or document intelligence services. It's okay. But obviously, when you are into production environment, I suggest single service resources, a resource creating Azure portal that provides access to a single Azure AI service, such as speech, vision, language, etc. Each Azure AI service has a unique key and endpoint. That's the basic aim, right? So you're secured. So the way you connect to the service is isolated, and you can have a very good control uh, via the endpoints that is accessing your services. These resources might be used when you only require one AI service or want to see cost information separately. Sometimes you can use single service based on line of business, based on the use case also. So it again depends. So if you are in non-production, I'll say always go for multi-service resource. Again, if you want to isolate based on line of business or different products, that's up to you. Single service resources always preferred in production environment. Let me see if I can quickly show you the current service that I'm using. Give me a moment. And just apologies, I think I'll share, stop my screen share and do a Windows instead of a tab screen share. Give me a moment. Okay, I think this is better. So I'll just go back. I'll open my Azure portal and share the service details over here. Okay, great. Over here it is. Let me know if you can see my Azure portal. I'll just zoom a bit over here. Okay. Can someone on the call confirm if you're able to see the Azure portal? Thanks, Ravi. Thanks, Jyoti Ranjan. Okay. So as I mentioned, right, if I try to just search over here on Azure AI services, over here we have a Azure AI service and we have Azure AI multi-service account. So that's how you can create the Azure AI services. Again, there are different services that you can use for your use case and evaluate them. And in my case, I created two different Azure AI services in two different region, and this is multi-service account. So if I just go to this service, I think I'm using Playground service over here. Yeah, you can see this. It's a cognitive service API kind, and then I'm using a multi-service one. And we'll also go to some other features of the way we connect it via endpoints. But this is the different service details. If I go to properties, I can show you resource ID, resource group that I'm using, subscription, and then other details over here. So I will recommend use multi-service account as much as possible if you are using for your POCs and lower environments. Otherwise, you can just use a single service account and just create any kind of service that you want to create to explore Azure AI. Okay. Moving further, let me go to slideshow mode. We talked about service types, authentication, key information, right? Azure services are accessed through a RESTful API. Although there are other ways also, as we mentioned earlier, but for now, a RESTful API with SDK would be a better option, and that's what I'm using for the demo. The API defines what information is passed between two software components, very easy to evaluate and authenticate the Azure AI service and whatever is using it. So your client and your service can be evaluated, can be authenticated if you can pass on the key. And again, there are different ways to evaluate. You can have the keys on the keyboard and also invoke it programmatically, keep the key rotating also. There are a lot of other features. We can have that discussion later on. But in short, you have your endpoints and then you have your pass keys that you use for that resource. Having a clear defined interface is important because if the AI service is updated, your application must continue to work correctly. Part of what an API does is to handle authentication. As you mentioned, any API authentication key is what will help you to secure your service. When a request is made to use an AI service resource, that request must be authenticated. For example, your subscription AI service resource verified to ensure you have sufficient permission to access it. This authentication process uses an endpoint and resource key. So two attributes that are key when you are trying to connect to the services. There is an endpoint and there is a resource key. The endpoint describes how to reach the AI service instance that you want to use in a similar way the way you use a URL defined for a website, and the resource key protects the privacy of your resource. To ensure this is always secure, the key can be changed periodically and programmatically you can keep on updating as I mentioned via your key vault also or via invoking the resource with the SDK. So now let me quickly show you this resource key that is available for your usage. So if you go to playground, keys and endpoints. Yeah. So over here you have the region where you have deployed your services, you have the endpoints. Okay, and one of the key can be used. Again, this is a demo, so I'm not invoking it programmatically, but yes, I'll save this in the environment files and then I will just load that file in my Python script so that we can connect to the services. Going back on how to create a service, simple. Go to multi-service account the way we normally create any resources. Select your resource group, your region, name it, your pricing tier, and then just create it. That's how it is. There are a few other attributes that you can consider. If you have your subnets defined under your network, you can accordingly select the right subnet. Again, if a production environment, you have to do it more carefully. Identity management, yes, this can be used to further enhance who is authorized to use the service. It's another simple feature that we use for most of the Azure services. Look after the privilege identity management session that I conducted last year. There is a recording on YouTube as well that will give you a more insight of how to use the identity management also. Tags which we use for policies or cost optimization, and eventually you review and create the service. So this is a simple way of creating any service. I have not selected the name test and you just test 1, 2, 3. It's okay. 12th July. That's fine. And just acknowledge that you're going to have a fair usage. And then you should be able to create the service. Okay, so Azure AI service is a fundamental entry point for you to use the different services available in AI capabilities on Azure. Okay, I'll go back to the presentation. We talked about authentication. Okay, that's about Azure AI service. Any questions, anyone? Before we go to one of the capabilities of Azure AI, which is Vision AI, and that's the aim of today's session. Great. Okay, VPN say you can see but small. Okay, I will try to expand that. I'll just try to zoom it further. I think this should be good enough. 125% extension. Okay, great. Let's move ahead. Let's talk about AI Vision service. Vision, right? All about what you see, images and videos. We'll just keep it pretty simple. Computer vision is one of the core areas of AI and focuses on creating solutions that enable AI applications to see the world and make sense of it. Azure AI Vision is a branch of AI, obviously, in which software interprets visual input, often the images or video feeds. Azure AI Vision service gives you access to advanced algorithm that processes images and return information based on the visual features that we want to retrieve. So when I say visual features that we want to retrieve, I think a very common use case that thanks, Vipin, for confirming that we have seen recently is your car number plate, right? Recognition. If you're over speeding, you get an ticket which is auto generated in the system, and from your RTO, if you have the app installed, you get a ticket, and then you have to pay for it. So that's a very simple way of recognizing that you have over speeded. You get a clear image from which they recognize the registered number of your car, and then you get rest of the things flowing into your account. Simple as that. That's one of the critical use case, and there are other security use cases also, or even if statistical analysis has to be done when there's a sports event. All this kind of analysis earlier were not that easy, but now with video analysis, it is very easy. The way the game is moving, any sports, and all this data is then fed into the system, as you mentioned earlier, right? So these are some of the practical use cases. The use cases are still evolving, lot of them. If you just think about it from your own application or your product or your line of business point of view, you will see a lot of use case also that can be implemented. Okay. Again, this is all cloud-based in Azure. So Azure via AI Vision API provides developers with access to advanced algorithm for processing image and returning information. So the model can also again be fine-tuned for every AI services. Over here, at least you can use the basic model that is ready to use. The only important thing is how you can give an input to it. In certain cases, you have Studio. In certain cases, you can use the API and SDKs. Feel free to integrate with your system. And then you process that information and return the information to your system to integrate and use it for further evaluation. Example, by uploading an image or specifying an image URL, Azure AI Vision algorithm can analyze visual content in different ways based on input and user choices. That's again one feature which we can take use of by using Azure Vision Studio, which I'll talk about in the next slide. Vision Studio is a set of UI-based tools that let you explore, build, and integrate features from Azure AI Vision. Using Vision Studio, you can start experimenting with the services and learning what they offer without needing to write any code. It's simple. It's a UI. You just upload your image or video, and then there are configurations via which you can evaluate what information you are getting. Simple as if you have image where you have to read the text, just go to Azure Vision Studio. There is an image reading service. Just go and use that OCR, and it will help you to read the text from the images. Then use the available client library as API to get started embedding this service into your own application. That's the SDK part which we talked about. Let me show you the Vision Studio. Okay, I have the account already working over here. So this is a portal. As I mentioned, you have APIs, SDK, the client libraries, and the Vision Studio, via which you can play around. So if you want to use OCR, optical character recognition, just extract text from the image, try it out, click on it, open your image, and just get the data. There are some samples also that they are shown, which gets processed. So feel free to play around. This is how you understand. And as I mentioned, you have SDK reference, you have REST APIs also to invoke and play around. Obviously, this all can be on cloud with Docker containerized platforms as well. You have image analysis. So this is your studio, via which you can play, get the data that you want, that you configure. In today's session, I'm not going to cover the studio much in detail because it's an UI version. I think it's self-explanatory. Go ahead and play with it. If you have any questions, I can schedule another session where we can go each of them and play around, because when we do POCs or RFPs, we normally use this kind of features to really understand what kind of analysis has to be done, and then we go back to SDK and API calls to make it more programmatical when it comes to POC to integrate with the system. So just try to evaluate the Vision Studio and the different features that it provides. Okay. So as we saw, it's a set of UI-based tool that lets you explore, as I mentioned, if you are doing POC, build and integrate feature from Azure AI Vision. Using Vision Studio, you can start experimenting with the services and learn what they offer without needing to write any code. Simple. Understand. Understand what features that you get. What is the output that you can evaluate. Then i- analyze if this is the right service and then go ahead and start coding for it. Then use the available client libraries. As I mentioned, code is using the client libraries REST APIs to get started embedding this service into your application, integrating. Simple as that. So it's a good thing. Most of the cloud providers do that. They provide a studio via which you can play and understand the feature. Again, understanding these features is very important to align to your use case and the outcome based solution. Okay. I have played with the Vision Studio. It's very nice. There are a lot of configurations that you can do so that you can understand what you need and then just evaluate the feature and the functions provided by the SDK so that you can use it to your advantage. That's about Vision Studio. Okay, there are four different services in Azure AI Vision, but today I'm going to cover two of them, considering that I want to focus some time on the demo as well. One of them is Azure AI Vision service for image analysis, and other is OCR, the optical character recognition. Before I go over there, any questions, anyone on Azure AI services, Azure AI Vision, and Vision Studio? Any questions? Silence. I take it as a no. Good. We'll proceed ahead so that we get some good amount of time for demo. Okay. Image analysis. Simple. As you all know, right? Image analysis will help you to extract many visual features from the images, such as object, faces, adult content, and auto-generated text descriptions. Simple. Now, when you have an image and you have a service to read the data from that image, just imagine the number of use cases across different professions, across different businesses, across different products. So the scope of AI is huge. And whether you are a developer, whether you are a coder, you are a tester, or even you are working on a product as a product manager, you just need to explore those features and just imagine the different use cases. And when you start implementing them, integrating with the system, it's really fun. It has got a lot of outputs that can be evaluated in different areas. Okay. And to analyze this image, you can use the analyze image rest method or the equivalent methods in the SDK. I'll show you in the demo also the SDK that we are using, so that via preferred programming language here, over here I'm using Python. We can just extract some of the features over there. Like when I'm analyzing an image, I can image analyze what are the different objects, what are the different people also in that image, so it can highlight to you with some boundaries as well, and the confidence level, specifying the visual feature you want to include in the analysis. So simple. Image analysis, analyze the image, get the textual information if you want, get the object information via SDK, and then utilize and integrate with your system. Okay, that's the image analysis feature of uh, Azure AI Vision service. I think we also saw that in the studio over here. We can recognize products on shelves, customize model with images, search photo with image retrieval, add dense captions. Again, one of the different features or attributes that you can use. Extract common tags from your images if you're able to tag the images. Detect common objects in the images, like simple car, the nameplates, and if someone is over speeding or someone is crossing the line, lot of other stuff. Captions to the images also. So different features. This is the basic bare minimum that you can explore out. Okay, that's about image analysis, OCR, optical character recognition. It's widely used in many use cases right now, especially security. This service extract text from the images, very important. You can really identify a lot of use cases. You can use the new READ API to extract printed and handwritten text from photos and documents, document reading. So OCR along with document intelligence has a similar kind of use cases. So any document nowadays that is handwritten, or you have to electronically generate, or you have to make an database updates from the documents, lot of forms. I think banks also are slowly moving to a direction where they can have input coming from the document electronically scanned and using the OCR features or the document intelligence service from Azure and have your database updated. Again, it's at a very early stage, lot of different use cases to be implement where the industry is evolving. It's good use cases also that you can be part of. Okay. So as I mentioned, you can use the new Read API to extract printed and handwritten text from photos and documents. It uses deep learning based models and works with text from various surfaces and background. Team, please make a note of this. Deep learning based models. There are different models. In the initial phase, when you're trying to learn the AI services, I would say don't try to really evaluate too much of the deep learning models and the features or comparison between different. But as you get more expert into it, there are different model features that you should know. Try to then understand what those models give it to you, and accordingly you can select the models, also customize them based on your input. Okay, and these models work with text on various surfaces and backgrounds. Foreground, background, if you have to change the color, if you have to change the background where the image has been first created, or refine the background, make it more visually appealing where it looks more digitally or HD quality. All those things can be very easily done. This include business documents. Okay, the kind of documents or the stuff that you can scan: business document, invoices, receipt, poster, business card, letters, and whiteboards. I think one of the use case that I read about is pre-poll invite, pre-poll kind of information gathering before elections. Also, there were such kind of polls that were carried out digitally online, and those were scanned, and then the data was generated. A very simple use case that I can recollect based on the current election that we had. Those are the use cases that have been currently used. Okay. Microsoft Read OCR engine is composed of multiple advanced machine learning based models supporting global languages. Read is available as cloud service and on-premise container for deployment flexibility. So in today's demo, we are covering this Read API via SDK, where it is just reads the text from an image. Also, it reads the text which is handwritten from an image. Also, we'll go through that soon in the demo. Okay. So I don't want to rush into a lot of theoretical services of Azure AI or Azure Vision AI. That's why I kept it simple. I went through at a high level, starting with what is this Azure AI services, some information around it, followed with the service type, important to understand. Authentication mechanism, very straightforward, endpoint and resource based. And in Vision AI at a high level, when you have to compute your Vision AI services, what are the basics of it, and there is a studio via which you can play around. And then I just managed to cover two services in the theory form. One is the image analysis and OCR, so that we can go to a demo of them. There are other two services also where we can evaluate the facial part of it and do the video analysis also, and there's a demo for it which I think in the interest of the time don't want to rush through it. If needed, I can have another session, thanks to Nandi and his team. Okay. Demo. Any questions before we go to the demo? We have 23 odd minutes. I think good enough time to cover the demo. Any questions, anyone? Good to go for the demo? A quick thumbs up. Great. Thanks, Navit and Nandin. Okay, just give me a very quick 30 seconds break. I'll just have a sip of water and then we can go to the demo. Okay, thanks. Thanks everyone. I'm back. Thanks for bearing with that. Okay, So what are we going to cover in demo? The first demo would be, oh, that's not class over here. Yeah, we'll analyze images using Azure AI Vision, and it's all SDK. Azure Studio, Vision Studio. I think you can explore. Connect with me offline if you want. I can also give you some pointers how you can play around with it. Over here, when we cover analyze the images using Azure AI Vision, first we'll try to clone a simple repository. I think I'm just giving the step, but I've done most of this. I'll just walk through the code and we'll just run it and see how we can e- extract the information from the images, right? So if you have to analyze images from Azure AI Vision, we have to first clone the repository where we have this sample code ready for us to play around. We have to provision AI service resources, right? So I did that provisioning earlier as I showed to you. So this is the Azure AI. It's a multi-account service that I have provisioned. I have provisioned it in East US. Again, the services are not available in all the regions. I will give you the link end of the session, and you can explore which regions it's available. You have to just create the services. I remember it's available in East US, not in East US 2 as well. So if you create over there, you can use all these different services: decision, language, peace, vision. And today we are talking about vision, document intelligence, metrics advisor, content. Those are the additional features. But yeah, ensure that you are creating in the right region so that you can invoke them. Okay. So this is the Azure AI service. I'll use a key and the endpoint to connect to this service and then use the SDK to analyze the image in our demo. So provisioning of the Azure AI service is already done. We have to install certain libraries and let me see if I can show you the list of libraries that we have to install. One moment. I think I noted down over here. Yeah. Okay. Hope you are able to see because I have already spawned a Windows machine on Azure and via that VDI connection, I am trying to get this demo executed. Just a quick thumbs up if you are able to see my VDI machine or the Windows machine, I would say mainly. Great. I got a couple of thumbs up. Thanks a lot. So team, we are going to install Azure AI Vision Image Analysis SDK, and there are a few more that are required. The Python.environment library below, some runtime library of the microservice MSVC, and Matplotlib so that we can analyze the images. So I'll just add this also if possible in the slide. Nandip, I think we can share the slide later on, right? If the team requires it. So I can add those details over here for team references. Just keep it small. It's quite small. That's fine. I'll add it later on in a different slide, guys. Okay. So these are some libraries that you have to install, and once you install the libraries, it means you're all ready to run the program. We'll analyze the image, which suggests a caption of what the objects are. It will suggest the tags for those images. It will detect and locate the object in an image, and it will locate the people in an image. Okay. So this is the different steps and the analysis of the image that we are going to do, four different analysis. Followed with that, we'll go with the second demo where we read text in the images. Again, similar repository with the Azure AI services that we have to create so that we can connect via the service. We'll install certain Vision SDK, and most of the SDK Vision that we have to install are this 4 5 different libraries. Okay, feel free to browse them. Let me see if we can format and make it text fitting over here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. And we'll read the text from an image and we'll also read the text from an handwritten text from an image. Both of this we'll go through these two demos. Okay, so we'll start our demo with analyzing the image. Let me go to the VDI session. So what I managed to do is this is a good document that I refer to, and it's a good sample also. We had used in many of our POCs as well. So I managed to clone this repository, which is MS Learn AI Vision, where you can get all these details and explore the libraries. You can also provision AI resources, and this is how the library or the code looks. So we have lab files for analyzing the images and OCR today. That's what I'm trying to do as part of today's demo. Obviously, we have image classification, object detection, phase, other aspects also, which we can cover in the later session. So let us quickly go through the image analysis. As I mentioned, these are the different steps. We'll first clone the repository, which I've already done, and hence I got all the required images so that I can go through the demo. we provision the AI service which I showed to you, the multi-account AI service. The name of the service is, I think I have that service over here also open. Let me see. Yeah, home Azure account. Yeah. So it is Playground, East US, correct. So this is a service, this is a key and endpoint that I'll connect to it. Okay. Going back to it, we'll install the Azure AI Vision SDK. I think I've already installed it. And now we'll start with the demo. Let me show you the Python script over here quickly. Hope everyone is able to see. Okay. Thanks, Bhavesh. Let me see if I can zoom this a bit. One second. Okay. Bhavesh, I managed to increase the resolution and the scope. Hopefully now it is a bit better. You can view it. Can you confirm that? Yeah, great. Thanks, Bhavesh. Thanks for that input. Okay. So first thing after installing the SDK is I just try to import the image analysis library. Okay, so we need image analysis client library, the visual features that we have to export it or use, and from the image that we analyze, and key credential. I think this is a common key credential that we use in most of the Azure services, and some other imports for getting the image information from the image, right? So we have this main function where we are first loading the service endpoint and the key. And this is the file where I have saved this. This is a service endpoint. As I mentioned earlier, we got it from the multi-service that we are invoked over here, this one. So these are the key and the endpoint that I added to the environment variable, which will be used by the analysis.python file to load it. And then there is an image that we have proceeded. So let me show you the image that we are going to analyze. So this is the image, street.jpg. Okay. And this image is then further analyzed, opened, read, and then we have an authentication call over here. Then we will have an analyze image function followed with some background foreground. I'm not going to go through this background and foreground today. So I'll just comment it out. We'll mainly analyze the image, as simple as that. Okay. See what it gives us in terms of output. And if I go further down in the analyze image function, we are trying to invoke the analyze function of the CV client. That's the information that we are passing to the analyze. CV client is the authentication object, the image data and the image file. Image data is read from the image file for further references. And if we go down, there's an exception threads over here. We are just printing. Okay, so this is an additional information of the image. What we are doing is we are printing the caption and the confidence level, that the accuracy of this image and the object that it is trying to read. Some image dense, another features, captions that it is also trying to print, tags of the images, and the object that it gets from the image. Again, just go through these SDKs that involve different functions and features. I've not written the code. We find just using it, trying to analyze and also trying to understand the different function of the libraries. It also then tries to get the people in the image, which is nothing but another object. Again, matplot function it is trying to use over here, and within this figure or the image, it is trying to detect the different people. Okay. Background, foreground, we are not covering. That's about it. So if you invoke the main function, it will further first authenticate you via the endpoint, and then it will invoke the analyze image function. That's what we are trying to do today. Okay. Sorry, upcoming event. Okay. Thanks, Nandi, for that. Okay. So let me run this code for you guys. I'll just share this code also, as I mentioned. The link is already provided. It's one of the sample. One, I've done all the installation. So we'll analyze the street.jpg image. Okay, here you go. So I'll again show the image to you. This is the image that we are trying to analyze. I'll just zoom this image a bit. Okay. So see what we have in the image. And when we analyze and ran the image analysis.python, this is what it gave it to you as an output. It is analyzing image, the caption, a man walking a dog on a leash on a street with a confidence of 82%. Further, it had a different captions also. A man walking on a street, not with a dog. That's why the confidence level is a bit low. A yellow car on the street. Is there a yellow car on the street that it identified? Let us go back to the image. Yes, there is a yellow car in the street, right? That it identified. A black dog walking on the street. Yes. A blurry image of a blue car over here, I suppose. That's a blue car image. And a yellow taxi cab on the street. So these are the different caption that it can derive. The confidence level shows what the data is been retrieved, right? And then we have different tags: outdoor, land vehicle, building, road, wheel, taxi, clothing, street, person, car, dog. So different tags that it could identify from the image. And objects in the image that it identified. So we, as we mentioned, right, we are also looking at the object that it identified: a car, yes, identified taxi, a person. I think the different confidence level might be there are multiple persons in the image. Yes, we have multiple persons in the background over here. That's why two different person, one dog. Oh, okay, and it has saved these results in object.jpg. I'll come to that. And then it also identified the people in the image. Okay, so this is how this image analysis via the Vision SDK has been executed. So now if I go to object.jpg, there you go. What object did it identify? It has highlighted them. It identified car, a taxi, a person, and a dog. And it identified that and saved that as an image. It also identified people.jpg. So yes, it identified a people over here. There are some photos also over here of the different people. That's why I identified. See, it was able to identify people in this car also, one people standing over here, one over here, and obviously these two objects. Okay. So that's about your image analysis Python script by using your Vision SDK image analysis client Vision class, and you can use the different features to extract that information. Okay, I'll go to the instruction again quickly to summarize. We clone the repository, we provision service, then we install certain SDKs, the SDK that I mentioned earlier in the PPT. These are the five that I had to install. We analyzed the image with a caption. We suggested the tag for it. We detected the objects, car, people, dog, and then we also located the people in the image. So these are the different features that we could analyze from the image. So that's the first demo about image analysis. Any questions, anyone? Looks good for now? Okay, so let us go to the next one. Next is the OCR. So what are we going to do is we are going to read the different textual information from the image. Okay. Again, we are using the image analysis SDK, the client, visual feature class, and the key credential. In the main class, we are just going to load the variables. We are going to evaluate, authenticate the client, and then we have to read the text file. Let me show you the text file. The images that we have. That is one image with Lincoln with something written on the wall. There's another image, a simple shopping list on a notepad. Okay, so we are going to read both of them. Okay, here there's a command option that they're given to select which image we have to scan and analyze. We first read the text using the text API, the read API, as I mentioned earlier in the slide. Rest of these features are the same from Plotlib that you can evaluate. There are some bounding polygons also. It gives you the dimension, the latitude and the longitude kind of information of how the image is been written, where it is written. And then it also saves the output in a file to showcase what text it has analyzed from the image. So this is using your OCR service. Fine, let me go. I've executed this, ensured that we have the library working fine. So I'm running the Python script over here. I'll use the REST API for reading the first image. Okay, now if I go to the first image, is this what it is reading? Let me zoom that image. Yes, so if we zoom it, in this temple, as in the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever. There you go. That's the exact test that it was able to, sorry, retrieve from the image. So that's your image retrieval. Okay. Sorry, that's a textual text retrieval from an image. Now let us try to exec and see if we can read via this Python SDK from a handwritten note. Yes. So if I go to node.jpg, shopping list, not fat milk, bread and eggs, it was able to read this. Again, which SDK are we looking after? If I go back to the Python, it's the image analysis SDK and the different classes. Okay. So we managed to cover this demo as discussed for two of the Azure AI services. The first one was image analysis, and the second one was OCR using the text from the image. That's about the demo. Any questions, anyone? I think we are on time. Good to know. Hence, I did not want to cover the other two. Might be I'll have another session, and that time I'll go more detail into Azure Studio also if required, and the demos for it. Okay, let us quickly go through the quiz since we have some time in hand. Can someone answer this question on the chat itself, right? First quiz question is for which Azure AI service resources all your AI services are built together? Ravi, I'll share the details. I'll share it right away. Give me a moment. You want the repository, right? So analyze image with Azure AI. Let me share it right away on this chat. It's good to play around. This is the first one. Meanwhile, guys, go through the code and let me share the second one also. So the second one to read the text in images. Yeah, these are the two good sample that you can go through. Okay, Vipin has answered multi. Good. Anyone else? Yeah, the right answer is multi-service. I know, straightforward, good one. There is no combined service. We have single and multi, so multi-service will build all together. For lower environments or POCs, it could be quite handy. Okay, let us go to the next one. You want to use the Azure AI Vision service to identify the location of individual items in an image, the location of the items image. Which of the following features should you retrieve? Will you retrieve objects, visual tags, or dense captions? Hmm. Objects, Vipin? Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, I think that's the right answer. So yes, it is. Object is the right answer if you want to retrieve the information. So, guys, that's it from me. We managed to cover. Let us go through our index quickly so that we ensure we covered. Did we cover what is Azure AI services? Yes, we did that. We covered the different Azure AI service types. We covered the authentication of Azure AI services. We covered at a high level what is Azure AI Vision, Azure Vision AI. We also went through Vision Studio. Then we covered two different services in Vision AI. One is the image analysis service, other is the OCR service. We did a quick demo of analyzing the images where we analyze the image with a man walking with a black dog and the taxis behind it. And then we analyzed the two images using OCR, the OCR part of it. One image was a text written on a wall, and other was a handwritten note for a shopping list. We went through a quick quiz, and now we are into the last section. If there are any QA question answers from anyone, I also shared the link for people to explore.